Happy Saturday, everybody. Just want to do a quick review of what I saw this week and some things to talk about in terms of the test. But if you haven't seen that email, you should watch that thing I put together. It's to try and minimize the time you have to spend looking at the AP testing guide. I kind of just go through everything that you'll need to know. And of course, you have access to the AP testing guide. It is on the College Board website, and you can go through it, all 51 slides, on your own if you want. But in general, you guys are doing so much better with these FRQs. You're continuing to do well. Your answers are becoming more honed. You're kind of knowing what the test is looking for. On average, like if I average all the scores that from the past weeks, you're doing a high 4, low 5. But if I average just like 3, 4, 5 scores, you're in the 4s. So that's just awesome, which is pretty indicative of how you should expect to do on the actual test. So bottom line, continue to do well. You're all doing so much better, and it's great to see. I'm actually impressed. I was talking about it with some other teachers about how well you've retained your physics knowledge throughout the year, and especially under these conditions. But a few things we talk about from this week, what I noticed. Again, when a student makes a claim, you really want to focus on those claims. This past week, one example was like this: the spring will have more energy, or it'll have more kinetic energy because it's compressed more distance, and the object will go twice as far. So those were the two student claims. Address them only. Don't blather on about other stuff. So yes, it will have more energy because the spring is compressed farther. No, it will not go twice as far because it's a squared relationship. That's all you have to say. So if you see a question like that where a student makes claims, like maybe highlight those claims. This is what you need to address, and only that. And also read the question carefully. Some of you didn't do as well as you normally do on this previous week's questions because you just weren't reading the scenario or reading what they were asking for. So on the real test, just read carefully. I know it's going to be a little nerve-wracking. You're taking an AP test, but really focus as best you can on answering the questions and visualizing the scenario. Another thing, for those of you that have diarrhea of the mouth, stop. You talk in incessant circles, like since the height is lower, the ramp is not as high because the height's lower. And if the height's lower, the ramp isn't as high. Really? I know a few of you did this. I'm not picking on any one person, but dude, we get it. The height's lower, less potential energy. That's like 6 words. Clear and to the point. You are talking to people that are physics teachers. They know what you're talking about. You don't have to explain what height means. Be careful of that. And I say that stressing the fact that you're not going to be drawing and apparently not graphing. At the same time, you should be able to articulate what a graph would look like, and you want to be clear and to the point. Like, oh, if I was to graph this, I would expect to see a linear graph because the relationship between blah and blah is direct. End of story. You don't have to explain what linear means. Anyway, that's not towards most of you. Just some of you are, again, your answers are getting so much better, and they are getting to the point. Some of you can't stop talking, and then you repeat yourself at the end and say exactly what you said in the beginning. You don't need to repeat yourself. Answer the question. Another big issue that keeps coming up is some people are using dynamics and kinematics when you shouldn't. So energy, usually that's an incline. Usually, I can't promise, but it's often an incline. But I can tell you that it never, like, if time is never mentioned, then you're probably leaning towards energy. Because energy, none of the energy equations have time in them. If there's time and change in velocity and even talks about forces or acceleration, well, then yeah, you're going to be using kinematics and dynamics. But a lot of times it is energy. Another thing you can also think about is usually with energy, they only mention things like height, velocity, distance, spring compression, things like that. Also with momentum, if there's a collision, we're talking momentum. And please remember, the most important concept during a collision is that the changes in momentum, the delta P's, are equal and opposite. Please. That's important. I forgot to write it, so I'm writing it right here. Okay, that's really important. Another thing that they said about the test is, like, they said there's not going to be much math, but there will be math, so I'm confused. Sorry. But if you're typing your response, I was looking at a couple forums about the readers and what to expect. What I have here is 1/2 AT squared. And the readers were like, yeah, we know what that means. It's not AT because it's 2 times 1/2. You are writing 1/2 AT squared, even if you didn't put the superscript and write it as like 1/2 AT squared and all pretty in Microsoft Word or a Google Doc. So they're probably going to be a little lenient. They're going to just give you the benefit of the doubt. If you have to write out any math and type it out, well, don't panic about superscripts and subscripts. They're going to be pretty lenient. But other than that, this is our last week of practice tests. There's more practice tests online. There's that like extra practice if you want. Again, I know you have other classes, you have other lives, you probably have other AP tests you don't have other lives, sorry, but you have other AP tests that you need to prepare for. So this is our last week of practice, and to be honest, I think you're as ready as you're going to be. I'm not trying to blow sunshine somewhere. I'm saying that really. You're doing really well on these FRQs. So I don't know what else to do to help get you ready. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend because I'm going to try and send this later today. And I hope you have a pleasant next week. I'm around anytime for questions about either physics or the AP test. Please don't hesitate. So take care of yourself. Get out and enjoy the weather today.